Hello, this is Dread, and in today's video topic, this video is a long time coming. So about 6 months ago, I kind of raged at the game, and I was like, dude, I'm really tired of not being good at killing Harbingers. It's really annoying, because if you don't know, recently, in the patch 1.1, about 9 months ago, we had the Harbingers added to the game. Pretty much, they are now new monolith bosses, and they hurt. They do a lot of damage. They have a lot of tankiness. They have mechanics that you actually need to dodge as a character, unless your character is quote unquote broken, right? Like, there's a lot of things that you need to do to be able to take these guys down properly in a good time frame, mainly because of the power creep. Oh my goodness, the power creep. Holy crap. Let me tell you, oh my goodness, the amount of HP each Harbinger ends up having in the end game and the amount of damage that they end up doing in the end game is absurd. And that is to make up for the fact that the player characters have also gotten a lot of power creep, right? So to be able to deal with these things, I was like, okay, I sat down, and after 23 zero to hero episodes later, where I take a character from level 1 and solo character found with no gear from any other character. I was like, screw it. Let's go 10 out of 10 Harbingers on all of them. And oh my goodness, 230 Harbinger kills in progression later. Remember, it's in progression. I'm not just using some overpowered character that's in Legacy or whatever or offline. I am literally leveling the character and using whatever bitch basic gear that I have at the time and killing all 10 of them on each individual character. And I have garnered a lot of information, and that's what this guide is going to be, is an amalgamation of all of that data. So that's what we're going to be talking about today: how to kill the Harbingers effectively and how to get to 10 out of 10 Harbingers effectively. But before we can do that, let's talk about why 10 out of 10 Harbingers are so important for your last Epoch experience. And with all that being said, if you haven't already, I would heavily suggest leaving a like on the video and subscribing to the channel if you want to see more content like this. Also, as well, it helps spread out this guide to other people so they can find it as well. Make sure to link it to people and stuff like that. This was 6 months in the making. A lot of effort has been put into making this post, so have fun with it, guys. So here we are in game real quick. I just want to note why killing your 10 out of 10 Harbingers is so important. So let's go through all of the benefits real quick, and let's talk about why it's so important and why the Forgotten Knights faction is so important for your playthrough. So first things off, Nemesis Egg of the Forgotten chance. 40% chance of Nemesis items to include an Egg of the Forgotten. This is important because the more chances that you have to have Egg of the Forgotten, meaning the quicker that you can go through monoliths and stuff like that, right? And get more nemesises. And those nemesises will have the egg. A lot of your endgame gear, a lot of your LP gear is going to end up coming from this egg, as you put an item in there and either it becomes legendary, right? I've gotten some really good legendaries from this, or you can turn something into LP. And with all of everything coming next patch, like all of the Weaver stuff, Nemesis is going to be even more important than ever. So buffing up your Nemesis is important. So that's the first one. Number one. Number two, 10% chance to gain twice as much stability when completing an echo. This is very good when you're trying to just run through monoliths and complete objectives. Whenever you finish a monolith, the base amount of stability, right, can be doubled like this. We just want to do this as much as possible. We want to gain as much stability as possible, because the more bosses we kill, the more corruption we get, and the more corruption we get, the better our experiences. And of course, this also allows us to hit bosses more often, more monolith bosses more often, which means more chances at those really strong boss uniques that exist right now, like Twisted Heart or like the low life gear setup. All of these uniques are very strong, and you definitely want as much stability as possible. Harbinger Needle drop chance. Harbingers, including Aberoth, are twice as likely to drop a Harbinger's Needle. This is very, 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 very good. I know, I cannot stress this enough. Having Harbinger Needles are really good for pushing corruption. Why is pushing corruption so important? Well, if you don't know, right now in Last Epoch, currently, especially if you're COF, it's less so in Merchant's Guild, but especially in COF, this number is God. This number, God. It is the most important number you care about. Favor is the most important number you care about currently in Last Epoch, because either it's a way to get prophecies and you want as much favor as possible, or it's a way to put more items on the market to sell more items and then buy more items. Buying 4 LP items to slam and stuff like that costs a lot of favor. Buying a bunch of 1 LP items to slam over and over again until you get exactly what you want, that costs a lot of favor. All of these things, everything, favor, 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 favor. And you know what benefits favor? Killing enemies in higher corruption, right? Because it's more XP, up to like 1,000. So you want to be up in the high amounts of corruption as quickly as possible. So anything that gives you more chances to get more corruption, i.e. Harbinger needles. If you don't know, a Harbinger needle, I hope I have one. Here it is. Harbinger needle here breaks if equipped when you kill a timeline boss with 90 corruption, causing that timeline boss to kill grant 3 additional gaze of Orbis. If you don't know, this is like 4 to 5. I think it's like 4 corruption per gaze, so it's like 12 corruption per. This allows you to make every single Orbis kill that you do push up your corruption significantly. So you can gain like 40 plus corruption each time, which is significantly faster than the 12 that we used to have back in the day. Being able to push this corruption higher and higher and higher, quicker and quicker and quicker, means more favor per hour. The more prophecies you can get, the more merchant skilled stuff you can do, the better. You like favor? Favor is important. No matter what people tell you, favor is important. Now, Nemesis Forging Potential Upgrade. Maximum forging potential gained from empowering a Nemesis is increased by +6. This is very important. This allows you to get a lot of forging potential on items that you get from Harbingers. Like a good example here, this item here, I don't know if I have an item exactly on my character. Oh, here you go. This item had 74, I think like 60 forging potential when I started with it. I was able to manipulate the modifiers and use my runes exactly how I wanted to make this item. If you don't know, this item came from Nemesis. If you're wondering the kind of items that you get from Nemesis, this is the kind of items that you get from Nemesis. To give you an idea of how strong it is, oh my goodness, it is so strong. Like, Nemesis is so strong. So being able to have more forging potential on the items that you get from Nemesis is important for being able to manipulate it, especially next patch. Next patch, this is so much more important, not even funny, because you could use Runes of Havoc. Runes of Havoc require forging potential. Runes of Redemption, trying to re-roll these modifiers, requires forging potential. So forging potential is absurdly important, right? Forging potential, good, very much so. Glyph of Envy drop. Glyphs of Envy, if you're not unaware, it gives you a very large amount of stability, about like 1/5. It takes 4 to 5 Glyphs of Envy to fill out a stability bar in Empowered Monoliths. Getting more Monolith bosses, not only is it good for Monolith drops, like boss drops, right? It also means more chances of dropping needles, and more chances of dropping needles is more corruption, and yada, yada, yada. Corruption pushing good. Very, very, very good. Okay? Very, very good. Glyphs of Envy, this is like crack cocaine. If you care about getting as high as quickly as possible, and getting as much stability as possible, and getting as much favor as possible, and getting as much loot as possible, Glyphs of Envy are your new best friend, your crack cocaine. You're going to become a Glyph of Envy addict. Glyphs of Envy are very important. So having access to Glyphs of Envy speeds up not only your 10 out of 10 Harbinger run, but just your bossing in general. Having more bosses, the better, yada, yada, yada. Ghost of Envy, good. Nemesis Sealed Upgrade. This is very important. The tiers of sealed affixes added by empowering Nemesis are 50% higher on average. This is very good, because as you can tell, Nemesis can give you very good 5 affix items. It can give you like double exalted affix items, like triple exalted affix items, like it just, oh my god, Nemesis is so good. So buffing up Nemesis, very good. Nemesis is like one of the main ways of getting your very good GG loot in Last Epoch currently. And it's very good to find things to sell in the market. It's very good for COF because you can pump in more uniques in there, because you can get a lot of uniques playing COF. So putting all those uniques inside there and trying to get the best uniques possible is great. Overall good. Gaze of Corruption, additional corruption. Like I said before, getting more corruption is good. Blessings are lucky. I wouldn't even bother. So if you don't care about, if you're not playing hardcore, okay? There are other people I've talked to about this. If you're not playing hardcore, it's not worth farming your blessings until you get this, because this allows you to get higher rolls on said blessings. Some blessings have absurd roll ranges, right? Like, look at this one, 55 to 75, right? This one, 25 to 40. This one, like, oh, these are like normal blessings, but like empowered blessings have much higher rolls and stuff like that. So having lucky allows you to get through this much quicker. Harbinger unique drop chance. There are certain Harbinger uniques that are good, some that are bad. Not all of them are seeing use right now, but in general, this will be a lot more useful later when their uniques are actually a lot more usable. Like, for instance, if I'm not mistaken, I think this one is used the most. I think the Aberoth like scepter is pretty good. The hammer is okay, but mainly World Splitter, specifically World Splitter. A lot of people are going to be playing a Racing Strike Sentinel next match, like a Racing Strike Void Knight. So World Splitter is very good. So this gives you more World Splitters. So if you care about a good LP World Splitter, this is what you need. And then Harbinger Gaze of Orbis upgrade, more gazes while killing Harbingers for your Shade of Orbis. So you get 2 instead of just 1 each time you do a boss. All of this allows you to get better gear with Nemesis, get more bosses for boss drops, right? Get more envy to get more bosses, get more corruption to get more favor, improves your blessings so that you don't have to like farm 5 years for good ones. And then it also makes your Harbingers drop more stuff. And it also just allows you to push corruption faster, which is the main metric in Last Epoch, is pushing corruption so that you can get more favor all the way to like 1,000 very quickly. Cool. For the day 1 to 2 grind, the Forgotten Knight faction is what you should care about. 10 out of 10. Very important for day 1, day 2. All right. Now that we've got through this part, let's rip off the Band-Aid. Unfortunately, in Last Epoch, you are heavily, and I mean heavily, incentivized to play a good build on multiple different metrics, not just like, oh, like it'll have a good time. No, the game itself is incentivizing you into playing a good build. Why do I believe this? Well, after all of the runs that I have done in Last Epoch, the 24 runs, out of all of them, the ones that were good were not just better because they were better builds, but they were better like exponentially, right? The difference between a build that has slightly less DPS and slightly less survivability, it is massive, because you want to be pushing your corruption as much as possible. Why is that? Well, currently, to get Glyphs of Envy and to get Harbinger Needles, which are the main currency that you want to be pushing up corruption. Why is that? Well, if you look at the bar on the side of the screen when you enter Empowered Monos, enemies have increased rarity and enemies have increased experience gain. So this is important for 2 different reasons. First things off, more favor equals more items sold on the market, or more items bought, or more items through prophecies. So first things off, it just incentivizes you to push corruption because of that. Cool, first thing. Second thing, that item rarity affects boss drops. If you don't know, boss drops are affected by item rarity. So this is normally like, hey, like dropping that World Splitter or dropping that Twisted Heart is more important. Pushing up corruption, get that LP Twisted Heart, push up stability, try to get more rarity. Rarity is important. But because of this, rarity is absurdly important because of this other thing that not many people know about. The percent chance to drop Glyphs of Envy and Harbinger Needles starts out at like, I think like 10 to 20%, and then is upgraded by item rarity up to about 50%. So having like maybe 300% to 400% rarity is very good for your corruption pushing endeavors, because more Glyphs of Envy and more Nemesis Needles and stuff like that, like all of that stuff, you get exponentially more of it when you're of higher corruption. So it really is just the higher you get, the better. And the better you get, the higher you get, and it feeds into itself and it exponentially grows larger. So you want to be playing a build that can handle higher amounts of corruption earlier on in the character's lifespan. And this means that you are heavily, and I mean heavily, incentivized to play good builds. So builds that have low DPS are going to suck. builds that have low survivability suck. Builds that have low clear are going to suck because less stability per monolith, so less bosses in general, right? You want to be clearing everything while you're running through monoliths, while also walking through those monoliths as fast as possible so that you can get through monolith echoes as fast as possible to get to the outside of the monolith. Because if you go outside of the monolith, like the farther away from the center of the web, you get more stability per echo and stuff like that. So you want to be moving fast, you want to be clearing fast, you want to be doing things fast, you want to be killing things fast. So you are so so incentivized to play something overpowered that it is not even funny. You want to play a strong build for your day one experience. You don't want to play something like, I don't know, Cinder Strike, Blade Dancer, and the game rewards you exponentially for doing so. So make sure you choose a good build for your first thing. Then you can like fuck around afterwards. But like seriously, like if you don't care about speed, if you just want to take a more casual time, it's not that big of a deal. But if that's what you care about, if speed into the end game so that you can start benefiting from all of the drops and stuff like that, you want to get to your 10 out of 10 Harbingers as quickly as possible. You want to get to 300 plus corruption as quickly as possible. You want to pretty much just push as fast as possible, as quickly as possible. So currently, the Harbingers, the way that they work is they have like a step ladder approach. You do one at 100 corruption, 125, 150. Fuck all that. Ignore that shit. Just completely ignore that shit. Just push your corruption as high as possible. So generally, this is just a generic way that I go about it. This is how I've done it on average. Now, of course, this gets faster and faster and faster the more needles and glyphs of envy you get, but this is how it generally goes. I get to 100 corruption, okay? I push my first mono to 125. Then I push my next mono to like 180. I do like an extra boss or two to get a little bit more corruption, right? Then I push my next one to 250 on average. And then I push my next one to like 300 plus, usually like 340, 350. At this point, you've done 4 Harbingers and you're already at like 350 plus corruption or something like that, especially if you get lucky. If you get lucky, you could have even more. Generally, you are incentivized to get to higher amounts of corruption as quickly as possible, and that's what I've been doing over the past few runs. I did used to do the step ladder approach in comparison to, of course, what I do now, where I just push as much corruption as possible. Pushing corruption, most important thing. That is the most important thing. So playing a good build is important. So now that we've established the basis that playing a good build is important, let's talk about what makes a build good in terms of quality. So first things off, good single target DPS is good. Now, this isn't like the most important metric. I have played builds that have less single target DPS, but excel at the other categories that we're going to be talking about today and do just fine. So if your build has like a bunch of clear, a bunch of survivability and all that, like you end up doing just fine. Just remember that the more DPS that you have, the less that you need in the other categories that we're going to talk about today. So the next category, you want good DPS, okay? Low DPS builds, the reason why you want more DPS is Harbingers have a lot of moves that can kill you, especially like in prolonged engagements, right? Especially if you don't have like blind on hit or crit avoid at the current moment. They can crit you accidentally and you can die. They can overlap damage abilities on top of you, right? And the longer the fight goes, the more odds that you're going to die. And of course, no one likes 4-minute boss fights either, because it's more of an endurance fight at that point. Like it's an endurance fight between you and the Harbinger, because you might get tired at the keyboard and like have to yawn for a second. Bam, Harbinger killed you. Oh, you might have to scratch your ass. Bam, Harbinger killed you. So it's more of an endurance thing than like a speed thing if you have low DPS, which is not necessarily something you want. So having high DPS is good, but it's not mandatory, especially if you know the fights. Cool. Good single target DPS. Now, what else do you need? You need good clear. You need good clear. This is not like I know it sounds crazy, but Dread, you're killing bosses. Why do you need good clear? Because the better clear that you have, the more stability that you get, the faster you get it, And the faster stability you get, the faster you get to the bosses. Every single monolith you enter, you should be killing stuff on the way to the objective. You should not be rushing and ignoring monsters. You should be killing the monsters, right? You need to kill the monsters to get a bunch of stability, which means you get a bunch of bosses. Odds are, in a lot of my runs, I end up fighting Harbingers maybe 15 times in the total time of getting to 10 out of 10, because the more Harbingers you kill, the more chances that you get access to needles and stuff like that. So generally, you want to be killing more and more and more and more of them. It doesn't matter that like you're not at a 10 out of 10 yet. You just want to be killing as many as possible, as quickly as possible. The reason why being, okay, if you do not know, actually, this is an important tip in general. So if you have, let's say, if you have a Harbinger that needs to get to 125, like you need a Harbinger at 125, but you go to like 170 corruption, right? And then kill the Harbinger, the 125 will go up to 150. But then if you go and try to fight that Harbinger again, it will let you do so. So if you push up higher corruption, you can farm the same Harbinger multiple times in a row. So if you have a bunch of stability, right? Like you can end up killing a Harbinger multiple times in a row to get more Glyphs of Envy drops and more stability and more Gazes of Orbis and stuff like that. So just trying to kill bosses in multiple rotations. You're trying to get as many boss kills as possible for as much Gaze of Corruption as possible to push as much corruption as possible, which is like the most important metric. So having high amounts of clear for high amounts of stability is very important. It's very, very, very important. Don't play a build with insane single target but no clear. You'll have a terrible time. It'll be slow. Okay, cool. Now next thing, speed. Out of all of these metrics, if you have speed, you're good to go. Speed is the most important metric out of all of these. Going fast through a monolith is important. 99% of your time spent in these runs is walking from A to B. Now, whether that be movement speed, which is good, cool. Whether that be clear speed, which is also good, right? Like we talked about good clear, right? Or just mobility. So a lot of my characters, I'll be utilizing something like, transplant. I want haste. I want, like, for a good example here is a lot of my sentinels, I usually eschewed DPS options on my skill bar for something like a healing hands plus a javelin combo. Why is that? Well, healing hands is a good movement skill for moving through monoliths. Then you can also utilize javelin, which also has a mobility portion, but it does not put your other traversal skills on cooldown. So you have two movement skills, and most of the time when I would play sentinel, I would actually go through monoliths faster than, like, let's say skills, characters that only had like one mobility skill on their bar. And of course, like for instance, all the shamans that I played were very quick on their feet because they had a large amount of movement speed, which ended up making their like 10 out of 10 Harbinger run faster. Movement speed, cooldown recovery speed for your mobility skills, movement speed. You want this. You spend a long time just walking from point A to B, and that is a large amount of the time. You could have a 6-minute kill time on Harbingers, but have a 20-second monolith run, and you would still be faster than the dude deleting a Harbinger in 5 seconds. Okay? Movement speed, clear speed, single target. Cool. Tankiness. This is the least important out of the metrics, especially when you get better at fighting Harbingers. Being tanky allows you to have lower DPS, but still kill the Harbingers faster. What do I mean by that? If you can sit in Harbinger attacks while DPSing them down, it means you have more DPS uptime, which means you need less damage. A good example here is I recently played Ignite Warpath Paladin, and it had less single target DPS than a lot of the other builds that I've played recently, but the DPS uptime was high because the character was tanky. So I had less damage, but I still ended up having decent Harbinger kill times because my character could sit on top of the boss and kill them for longer, which led to more DPS uptime, right? DPS uptime's important as well. Cool. Range versus melee. Melee sucks. Melee builds suck. in comparison to ranged builds. Characters that can do damage at range are way more superior than melee builds for multiple different reasons, right? One of the biggest problems is there's a lot of Harbinger attacks, like for instance, the light Harbinger, where she has a light attack where she hits you twice, right? She hits you twice in melee range. There's a lot of Harbinger attacks from the fat guy that also do that as well, that hit you twice. Also as well, there's the void puddles. So the void puddles from the Harbinger of like the fat Harbingers, they can overlap. And if you're sitting on top of them, and if you have a void puddle spawn on top of him, it's hard to see that he has that void puddle on top of him, okay? Unfortunately, the Harbingers are very anti-melee friendly, and to make up for this fact, you need to be significantly tankier, which pulls away damage pulls away affixes and stuff that could be focused on damage, right? A good example, is like the Lethal Mirage Blade Dancer I played. Because I was playing Lethal Mirage and I was immune while I was attacking enemies, and then of course I could just sit around and wait around, I had more room on my gear to put more DPS on because I wasn't directly interacting with the Harbingers in the way that normal melee builds would do so. So I could put more damage and be more glass cannon. This is like why melee builds suck for the Harbingers. They just suck titty balls. Be very mindful if you're going to be playing a build that does melee damage to a Harbinger, like make sure that you're tanky enough because you need to play something strong that does a lot of damage. And unfortunately, a lot of melee builds right now don't meet that metric. Anything I played when it comes to melee versus anything comes to range, it was such a worse time overall. So choosing a good quality skill, a good quality build is very important. Just absurdly important. Now, this is going to be a quick section. Green lizards are god tier. Green lizards. So if you don't know, there's a bunch of lizards that will pop up in monoliths and stuff like that. The green variety is the one that you care about the most in terms of going as fast as possible. Now, normally they drop set items, which you don't really care about as much. They will be getting better next patch, but their main use for me personally, whenever I'm doing 10 out of 10 Harbinger runs, is access to, of course, Glyphs of Envy. If you don't know, they drop set items, some unique items, and Glyphs of Envy. That is why you want these guys, like in general, because they drop Glyphs of Envy. And of course, like we said before, more Glyphs of Envy, the better, right? There's been a lot of runs where I get to 300 corruption after my 4th monolith, right? In last Epoch. And then I use my Glyphs of Envy to rush through and do all the rest of the 5 of my Harbinger kills. So I would get to 300 and then bam, kill 5 bosses in a row. And then I'm done with my 10 out of 10 Harbinger guide, my 10 out of 10 Harbinger grind, because of how many Glyphs of Envy that I had. Because remember, about 4 to 5 is a boss kill. And if you just simply hoard enough Glyphs of Envy after pushing corruption, right, you can just bam, instantly be done and do a bunch of bosses in a row, which means you get your 10 out of 10 Harbinger run done. Cool. Very good. Green lizards, S tier. Like if you see a green lizard, stop whatever you're doing, kill that green lizard, pick up his loot. Green lizard's good. Now, I talked about Harbinger needles and envies already, but sincerely, I need to talk about it again to stress the importance of how good Glyphs of Envy and Harbinger needles are. So a good example here is if the amount of time it takes to get from 100 corruption to 300 corruption without any, needles or Glyphs of Envy, it takes a very long time. So a good example here is 1 Orbis rotation without any gazes of Orbis or anything like that extra is like maybe at most 12 corruption, because it's 1 monolith boss kill and 1 Orbis kill at like 6 corruption, because you want to run through these as quick as possible, right? So it's usually 12 corruption at most. So it would normally take you, I think 10, 15 of these rotations to get to 300 corruption, which is a long amount of time. But if you drop a needle, this represents 4 of these rotations, because it's 12. I think it's 6. It's a lot of corruption per. It's oh my god! Every single Glyph of Envy and every single Harbinger needle represents less time that you have to spend running monoliths, which is good because you want to get up into higher corruption as quickly as possible, right? So these Glyphs of Envy and Harbinger Needles, they are so goddamn important. You want to be grabbing these. These are the things that you want. You want to get as many as possible early on to push as much corruption as quickly as possible. Very, very goddamn important. Now that we have finished talking about the reasoning behind why you should be doing this and what kind of build you should be looking for, now we can get into the details and talk about every single Harbinger. What I'm going to do is I'm going to watch and record footage of every single Harbinger here just to give you a guide of the order of which you fight them in and why you should fight them in said order, and of course, you know, how to fight them properly. So we are going to be doing a detailed discussion of every single Harbinger fight, all 10 of them. So get ready. So first in the kill order is going to be what Harbinger we choose for our level 90 monolith. So if you don't know, when you get to empowered monos, you will be fighting your first Harbinger. So depending on which level 90 monolith you choose to do last in the rotation of all 3 of them, you will choose your first Harbinger. And this, we're going to choose the Last Ruin one. So if you don't know, the Spirits of Fire Harbinger, the Age of Winter, and the Last Ruin Harbinger are the ones you choose between to do your first one. All 3 of these are always your first Harbinger, and I suggest always choosing the Last Ruin Harbinger first, as it is one of the more spoopy Harbingers. Now, it's not as spoopy as some of the other ones, but it's spoopier than the other 2 options, as the other 2 are fat Harbingers, and they're significantly less annoying than, of course, the light Harbingers. So we're going to be talking about the Last Ruin boss first. So we're going to play some footage here. This is of Warpath Ignite. Thankfully, the first Harbinger that you fight is really squishy. This one has very low amounts of HP in comparison to the rest of her brethren and sisters. So as you can see here, there was a 3 rotation attack here. This is very important. So this is all Harbingers are going to have this. It's this red line. She does this 3 times. So she does red line, dash, red line, dash, red line, dash, I think, something like that. So in theory, you can actually DPS her in this phase as long as you're aware of how she's going to do this move. So red line, dash, red line, dash, red line, dash. Okay, that's very important. So here you go. Now, this animation here, the thing she just did, she just stuck out her spear. This means that she's doing one of the Harbinger special moves. If you do not know, each Harbinger has like a base amount of abilities that each one has. Like a good example here is the red spear that you just saw. That one, like the fire spear, that is always on every single Harbinger of the Lady Harbingers, okay? Like the Light Harbingers, but this is specific to this Harbinger. So when she does that outstretched spear, this means she's doing her Harbinger ability, and this time it's going to be a giant rotating circle of damage over time. So she does it here, bam, this rotation circle. Now it rotates differently than the one from the Last Ruin boss, so be careful of that. A lot of these Harbinger abilities, they have different mechanics than the boss before them, but they still function very similarly. Here, this just does a lot of damage. To deal with this orbital beam here, right? To deal with this orbital beam, you want to stay on the outside of the arena. Outside of the arena, you want to fight her in the corners. You do not want to fight her here because you'll have more uptime of the damage over time beam. Here, you only have to deal with it like every few seconds, and as long as your build has enough sustain, it's not that big of a deal. So here you go. Void Slash. This is a very big problem for a lot of builds. So first things off, she does a Void Spear on the ground, is like makes a fissure. This does okay damage. It's not a lot of damage, but it does okay damage, okay? Then what she's going to do is a Void Slash. So this is in the form of a cone, an expanding cone, and if she does the cone, the attack, over this thing in general, if she does it near her little fissure, she'll do void spears, which then can also hit you. Now, unfortunately, because of the way that she works, when she goes and attacks you with the void cleave, like the void slice, she can hit you twice, okay? She can hit you once with the basic melee attack, and then with the void slice. And then she can also hit you with the void spears all at the same time. So as you can see here, void basic melee attack, void slice, void spears. She can hit you with all three of these. So be very careful. So the strategy to deal with the void slice here is to move opposite of the void thing here. So she only can hit you with the void slice and the basic melee attack. You want to get away from her proximity. Otherwise, she'll hit you with both the melee attack, the void slice, and the void spears. So as you can see here, this is the perfect maneuver to get away. She does that. I rush over here, evade, out of the way of the void fissure, and then she also does the void slice, and then that also does the basic attack. Cool. Now, she did her special Harbinger ability again, the Harbinger of Fear. This one, she has the little like lightning like AoEs here, right? Those lightning AoEs. They'll like pop. Now, these take significantly longer to pop than the last ruined bosses like Elder Gaspar. So be very mindful of that. They take forever to pop. They take like, I think like 3 seconds or something like that. So you generally don't want to be standing on them. In general, you just don't want to be standing on them. Just completely ignore them. In the last rune fight, you'd like walk over them and pop them for you. Just ignore them here. Try to not be on top of them, right? So this is just a free DPS phase when she does this. So sometimes she'll dash backwards. She's a very mobile boss. For melee builds, she sucks pretty much. Now, one thing about the Harbingers is if she's doing an attack, or if he's doing an attack that you don't like, if she's like doing a void slice, if she's doing like this attack, that attack, whatever attack she's doing, if you want her to stop, go away. Like literally go to the other side of the arena. Use whatever mobility skill you have, your teleport, your mobility skill, it doesn't matter. Go to the other side of the arena. Why is that? Well, they are bloodhounds. They will hunt you down. They aren't like other bosses. They actually hunt you down. They have AI where they will literally go and hunt you down. They will stop whatever they are doing to hunt you down. So if she's doing an ability that you do not like, run. Okay. Now what she does is she will jump up in the air and jump on top of you. So we can replay that real quick. So I don't like where she's at. So I run away from her to reposition her. This is the way to reposition the Harbingers out of spoopy mechanics. If you do not want the Harbinger to sit on top of the void beams, move away from him, reposition him. Okay. She does that slam. The slam doesn't do that much damage, but she does a slam and then immediately does a dash right after. There you go. Dash. Now she's doing void slice again, like you saw. As you see there, I took a lot of damage. It's because she hit me with the melee attack and the slash at the same time. That does a lot of damage. Now she's going to do her rotation of her red beams here. And like I said, you can DPS her down when she's doing this as long as you're mobile enough. She's going to do the void spinny again, more lightning stuff. This is a very bad position. As you can see, I am moving to make her move. Do not like take your time. Don't try to rush this. Take your time. Seriously, just take your fucking time. Void slice, but I killed her. Cool. That is the Harbinger of Fear, if I'm not mistaken, right? Harbinger of Fear. Yep. Now, the next Harbinger that we're going to be fighting is the Harbinger of Chaos, if I'm not mistaken. That's her name. Yeah, Harbinger of Chaos. So the Harbinger of Chaos is in Lagan. It's in Ending the Storm. This is the first one that we do in Empowered Monoliths. Why is that? Well, she is the scariest Harbinger. Out of all of the Harbingers, I think currently she is the scariest one. There's a few different reasons why. The main reason why is because the arena. As you can see, unlike before where we were in a big circle arena where we had room to maneuver, this is like a very small space to move around in. Very small space. So that means that you are forced into melee range even if you're playing a like range build, which is important because her abilities are very anti-melee, right? You don't want to be in melee range with her when you can afford it. Also as well, she has Harbinger abilities that copy Lagan, specifically the cold waves. So there will be a bunch of waves that are doing passive amounts of damage, and I found if I'm in later corruptions, right, she can stun you. She can stun you so easily. And if you get stunned, she can do her multi-combo on you and you will die. You do not want to be stunned in these fights, and these cold waves allow you to be stunned. So make sure your cold res is up. Make sure you have a bunch of tankiness. Like, this arena sucks. So we're going to play through this. This is your second Harbinger. Harbinger of Chaos. So as they spawn here, a good tip, they spawn here. If you're playing an ailment build, you can actually apply ailments to them while they're waiting, because they have this gigantic amount of DR when they pop out, but you can apply ailments to them. And then of course those ailments will start ticking for their full amounts of damage when their DR shield like pops off. See here, goes. And then first thing she's going to do, red wave, like I said before, dash red, dash red, dash red, so you can do damage to her while you're waiting. Her dash does a lot of damage, as you can tell. Like it's not a small amount of damage. Now she does a void, like an I-beam thing. It does a decent amount of damage. If you're a squishy character, this will kill you. But she only does it in the direction that she's aiming at, meaning that you can get behind her and still DPS her down. So this is a good part where you can DPS her down if you're not me and you don't stand in it. Now, that right there, that's her calling the storm waves. So they're going to come, the cold waves, and they do a lot of damage. So I'm repositioning her. I can see cold waves here. Look at that, 1200 damage from that cold wave. Look at that damage. Absolutely absurd damage, right? Just absurd damage. They're going to come this way and that way. Like they're going to come come up and down. They're going to come side to side. So you want to be able to pay attention to that. Thankfully, if you're Primalist, you can actually destroy them with your war cry. As you can see here, this just sucks, right? These cold waves suck. But thankfully, we're tanky enough to deal with it. I have enough sustain. This is why sustain is very important. As you can see, we're taking a lot of chip damage. We can DPS her down in this phase here. There you go. Just calling more cold thing. Now, Void Slice. This is the biggest problem. So this is how you die to Harbingers, okay? You die to Harbingers not from getting one shot. You don't die from getting one shot. When you die from Harbingers, it's because she did a Void Slice. She did the Void Slice, the Void Spears, the Void Melee hit, and the Cold Wave all at the same time. That is how you die to Harbingers. You don't die from one individual thing. You die from every single thing at once. So try to reduce the amount of things that are overlapping you all at once. Like here, right here, if I sat there, dead. I'd be dead right now. Don't stand there. Reposition her when she's doing spoopy things. As you can see, she immediately stopped what she was doing and then immediately went for the Void Slam here. So, like I said, reposition your Harbingers when they're spoopy. As you can see, she did a Void Slice, another Void Slice. Sometimes her animations and stuff, they kind of get borked and stuff. Like if she gets stunned or whatever, she'll kind of break her her loop. But once you kind of fight them enough, you'll kind of understand their rotation. As you can see, I'm not even playing with the Void Slice. I'm moving her. So she'll do the Void thing, and then she'll do the Void Slice over here. But if I move her in the middle of her ability, she'll put down the Void thing, then jump, then do the Void Slice. So it's less damage technically, but just be careful. She will try to do her Void Slice after she jumped. That will happen. Void Slice, but thankfully we managed to get her out of that. Now, that's pretty much it for this fight for the Harbinger of Chaos. Like I said, lots of chip damage. Make sure you have good sustain. It's very important because you're going to be taking a lot of chip damage here in this arena. As you can see there, I dodged the Void Slice, so I didn't die to it. But as you can see, just lots of damage. As you can see, she can also bug out, as you can tell. As you can see here, she bugged out and she walked down below. You can't walk down below, but you can try to hug the tentacles and get her to come closer to you. There you go. She will eventually come and walk to you and fix herself. But yeah, this is the Harbinger of Chaos. She is the most difficult Harbinger. Depending on how well you do against her, this is why you do her first, because she has the least amount of more damage on her. So your third Harbinger is going to be Fall of the Empire. Either Fall of the Empire or Spirits of Fire. If you are a melee build, skip this. Go to Spirits of Fire first, which will be the next one. But if you're not a melee build, you can do this one first. Okay? So this is Fall of the Empire. There's a very specific thing that you have to do for this, so pay attention. What we're going to do first is we're going to pull Lagan. We're going to aggro him, and we're going to pull him over here. to the right side of the screen. The reason why we do this is there are two worms here. There's a worm here and there's a worm on the other side. If you are on the right side of the arena or the left side, the right or left worm respectively cannot hit you and attack you with their abilities. This is important because if you kill Hearten in the middle there and then have the Harbingers start fighting you, you will get hit by the Harbinger's attack and the worm attack. So what you should do first is you should kill the worm. Don't kill Hearten, kill the worm first, or ideally kill them both, right? Ideally kill them both, but mainly kill the worm first and then kill Hearten. The reason why is it will reduce the amount of bullshit. So you kill the worm on the right side and then fight the Harbinger of Treachery on the right side. So let's watch it here. Mainly just kill this guy first. Kill this guy first. Hearten will walk over here eventually. But yeah, this is like pretty easy. Just make sure you kill the Idol of Ruin first and then kill Hearten on the right side. So this is the Harbinger of Treason. Here we go. All right. Okay. So Harbinger of Treason has a lot of nasty abilities. So her Harbinger special ability is to do this void dot pentagram. So it does okay damage. It's not the craziest amount of damage, but if you're a low sustain build and you know that you're a low sustain build, right, you will have a terrible time with this boss because she likes to put this void stuff all the time. So low sustain, like you need very high sustain to stay in this. So you can usually reposition her. She's going to do the void slices. As you can see, less sustain when I'm sitting in that, right? You can void slice. Now, this right here, this thing that you just saw pop, this happens the entire time throughout the entire fight. She doesn't do anything. Like she's not doing it. It's just this random void AoE pop that will spawn under your feet every few seconds. I'm going to play the clip. As you can see there, void pop, right? Void pop. This is a constant thing that happens throughout the entire fight. If you are not aware of this, you will die to it. It does a decent amount of damage. It can stun you. It's very bad and you want to ignore it, right? Very, very bad. Very, very not good, right? It happens literally the entire fight, mind you, and she doesn't have any animation to show you, and it gets lost in all of the border gore, as you can see, like all of the graphics gore. So knowing that it exists is very important. So stay light on your feet with this boss. Light on your feet. Make sure to reposition her out of course, the void dot stuff. As you can see there, I just took a lot of damage there because, of course, you know, I have all of these overlapping AoEs. Very important to have good chunk, good survivability against this one. But other than that, that's it. That's really it for the Harbinger of Treason. Mainly, reposition her out of this. Make sure to kill the worm. Stay on your feet. Pretty much stay on your feet. Because those void pop things, those void fissure things that go under your feet, they deal the most damage out of everything because they'll just passively keep doing damage to you, right? As you can see, this is what I meant earlier about having a build that had good survivability. It makes it so that I can keep damaging her even through all of these dumb AoEs and stuff like that, right? Which feels really good. As you can see there, just lots and lots of damage on top of myself, lots of overlaps of damage. They will never kill you with one ability. They will kill you with multiple, as you can see. Like they like to chip you down, and having good sustain makes up for this. If you have good sustain, you can like make up for all this chip damage that you're taking. As you can see, void seismic thing. Staying away from all of that helps out a lot. But yeah, this one's pretty easy. Like this one's easier than the other ones, but not knowing about this thing, this stupid thing, the void like seismic under you every few seconds, it's very important to know about that, right? Otherwise, like this is a knowledge-based fight because if you don't know about the worm, you don't know about like the little void seismic thing, right? It's going to feel like hell if you don't know about these things. So knowledge is the game on this one. So this is Spirits of Fire. The reason why we're doing this before all of the other light harbingers is this guy has a lot of overlaps of AoEs that can hit you all at once and that can kill you very quickly. But as you can see here on the side here, I'm pushing as much corruption as possible on this character, and that's like what I was talking about earlier. Like you want to push as much corruption as possible. So this is a Fat Harbinger. So let's talk about Fat Harbinger things. So his special ability, for this specific monolith, right, is this necrotic dot aura. It's like the spirit one, and it shoots out the necrotic mortars. So this necrotic damage over time does a decent amount of damage, but that's not what's scary. What's actually scary is there's these spirit mortars that fight that thing. That circle here, that spirit mortar, that is what deals the most damage here. It does a lot, and I mean a lot of damage, and it is the most disgusting thing about the fight. So repositioning his fat ass out of the way is important. Now, if you're a range build, you can actually bait where he puts it. So he likes to put the void, like the necrotic dot thing, on top of you, on you where you're sitting. So making sure that you are standing somewhere, if you're a range build, like over here, right, will allow him to like put it over there, and then you can walk to the other side of the arena and you can bait it out. But if you're a melee build, you get to just reposition him. So he does a teleport slam here. This is a teleport slam. So he's going to do damage based on where you're sitting. So here he's teleporting. He's going to do damage this way. Move out of the way. Otherwise he'll do like a little bit of a teleport slam. There you go. See that? So you want to get out of the way. That's one of the ways that he'll engage with you if you move away. That's just like a teleport slam. So here there's a 5-headed slam here. Just don't sit in the middle. Don't sit inside of him. Don't sit in the middle. Don't sit inside of it. The AoEs, like pretty much get the fuck out of dodge out of this one. These overlap and do a lot of damage. This is like literally like, don't be here. Literally, it's very clearly shown. Do not be here. As you can see, there's also a necrotic mortar here. Now he also does boulders. So he spawns 2 boulders and they climb and they shoot around in a rotation, right? Like in a circle. And they like move outwards as they roll, and they grow bigger and do more damage. They do a very large amount of fucking damage. If they're small, they do small amount of damage. When they're big, they do a large amount of damage. So not getting hit by one is important, but I think I get hit by it. Look at that. I took, I think, a 14 damage hit right there from that alone. And here's another ability he does. He does a 3 slash. So he does slash left, slash right, big slam in the area. You can actually kill you very easily with double slash. It does a lot of damage. So be mindful of the double slash, slash, slash. As long as you're not in front of him with the slam usually doesn't kill you. It's the slash, slash that kills you because they can easily hit you. Like I'll show you again here. Slash, 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 slam. Yeah, usually the slashes are what kill you. So this, he puts on the necrotic thing again, right? Now that right there, that ability he just did right there, that one, where he did the slam and the red AoE that pushed out, the slam and the red AoE can both hit you, okay? Those both can overlap and hit you. So be very mindful of where you're standing, okay? Now, I have found, this is just personal experience, if you're sitting inside of him, if you're sitting right on top of his dick, if you're sitting inside of his asshole, he will not overlap you with both of them. But if you're sitting a smidgen, like the size of his micro penis in front of him, he will do double damage to you. He will hit you once and then hit you again. So you want to sit inside of him, not in front of him. Inside of him or behind him, not in front of him, like directly in front of him. Very important. And he'll also turn around as he's doing it, by the way. So pretty much here, a good example, don't stand here. You'll get hit by both the wave and the slam. You want to sit here right on top of his dick. You only get hit by the slam. Very important. Now, this is where he does the boulders. Like I said, you want to be mindful of the necrotic dot mortars. He does the teleport, slam again. It's very easy to dodge a slam. As you can see there, though, the slash, 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 necrotic dot. This one's pretty simple once you understand not to let him put all the AoEs on top of yourself, but you can end up with a necrotic dot mortar on top of you, the red balls on top of you, the slam on top of you. You can end up with a lot of abilities. That was another thing he does. He does like a small dash. That's another thing. So if you move, he'll do like a small charge dash and he'll do an AoE in front of you. It actually does a large amount of damage. Don't stand in that. It is a decent amount of damage. You can see here, necrotic. Again, slam, balls. Usually he does 2 balls in a row if you're away from him, but sometimes he'll only do 1 ball. Like whenever he does 1 or 2 balls, it's like, I'm not entirely sure exactly how he goes about doing that, but I'm pretty sure whenever you're not near him, he'll do 2 balls. And if you're near him, he'll do 1 ball. I'm not entirely sure though. You see, teleport again. Like I said, repositioning in this fight is king. You want to reposition the fight. You want to reposition him and not sit in that necrotic dot, because you want there to be travel time between him through shooting the necrotic mortar at you and you time to dodge it. If you're sitting on right on top of the necrotic mortar, you have no time to dodge. But yeah, that is Spirits of Fire. Very obnoxious boss to deal with as a melee build. The most anti-melee build on the planet. If your melee build can handle this at high corruption, like your melee build's a good idea. Cool. Here's Harbinger number 5, Harbinger of War. So Blood, Frost, and Death is where this Harbinger is. Now, this Harbinger does a lot of cold dot damage over time in areas. So, and these areas can overlap a lot, which makes her kind of annoying, to be honest. Very annoying. So she has all the basic moves that the Harbingers usually have, and she also has, of course, those cold dot AoEs. So here, she's going to go red slam, red slam, red slam, right? And DPS her down in these portions. Do the tango, right? Now, her Harbinger ability, so she does cold dot AoE, these little devils, they will move around and aim towards you, and they can overlap. She can put multiple on top of herself to do multiple amounts of damage on you. Like they will overlap and they will do obscene amounts of damage to you. And they will start doing damage before they appear. So if you don't know that they're going to appear on top of her, like they can literally appear on top of her, tick you, and die like immediately. So that's when she does the Harbinger move, when she like raises her spear up. And then right after that, she's going to do a cold wave. And this cold wave is very fast. It's very, very, very fast. And she will do it the direction that you're standing in, right? She will aim it towards you. So you have to bait it out and then run out of it. And it's very quick. As you can see here, like she will do it very fast. Dot, bam, immediately. And like, just to give you a play-by-play of how fast it is, right? Like I will turn down the speed just to give you an idea of how little time you have to react to this. So she does Void Spear and then immediately starts going into that. Look at that. Immediately. And as you can see, it does large amounts of damage over time. Very large amounts of damage over time. So if you don't have leech, you don't have sustain, you don't have dot defense, very disgusting. And of course, Void Slices like we've talked before. Void Slice, I got hit by both melee attacks there. Dash, Void Slice, same thing. You want to run around her. When you're tanky, it's very easy to sit there on top of her. But like if you're not a tanky build, like if you're a range build, this is like a lot easier. She'll just be like running around and stuff like that, right? And you can see Cold Wave. This one's actually very simple. Unironically, it's just, of course, you know, she just does a lot of damage. The void beams just do a lot of damage. Like, not the void beams, like the cold wave and the cold little tornadoes, they do a lot of damage. They just suck, man. Like, as you can see, 3 spawned in like the same relative spot. If I was sitting there, I'd be dead right now. So that's like why she's so dangerous. But other than that, she's actually not that all dangerous. Like she does decent amounts of damage and all that, but it's damage that we can dodge and ignore for the most part. That's actually something that she does every so often. She'll like do like a little jump. She'll do a little jump and then do like a void puncture from the ground for where you're standing at. It does like okay damage. It doesn't do that much damage, not in comparison to everything else she does. The Void Slice, of course, is the most important thing that you want to be dodging. As you can see, like immediately doing that. Once you get the rotation down, it helps out a lot, right? It helps out a lot when you get the rotation down. As you can see there, that was like a flawless dodging of the Void Slash and the melee attack there. Very flawless dash avoidance of that. I know that I can phase tank stuff, so I'm like phase tanking it just to show you guys how much damage it ends up doing, okay? So that was Harbinger of War. So this is Harbinger of Pride. This is in the Stone Lance. It's the 6th Harbinger, at least in my opinion. So she's really not that hard. Her area is big. Like her arena is really big and allows you to like position her wherever you want to position her. And her special Harbinger abilities don't do that much damage. So if you're just used to dealing with the void slices, right, and the red beams and all that, this fight isn't that hard. She actually ends up just standing there and just waiting to do damage constantly, as you'll see. So here, I'm just waiting for it. So she's going to do her aim. So first things off, she spawns a ballista to do damage to you, does negligible amounts of damage. Of course, it overlaps with all the other stuff. So like if you're standing in it, you might take damage from it. But yeah, she spawns a ballista. Then she does this. These areas, they can actually do a lot of damage if you're sitting in like 2 or 3 of them, but they're very easy to dodge. And this is like when you should be DPSing her down. Then she goes for a void slice. But once you deal with the void slice and like all that, like once you understand how to deal with the void slice and stuff, it actually doesn't end up being that hard of a fight. She's actually one of the easier harbingers to deal with out of all of them. But she's still, of course, a lady harbinger, so she has void slices and stuff like that. I'm doing this at like 300 corruption, by the way. As you can see, by now, I'm already at 300 corruption, and I'm fighting harbingers at 300%. And as you can see, all that rarity right now, that's giving me, I think, like a 36% chance to drop a Glyph of Envy and a 36% chance to drop like a needle, right, at this point, versus like the paltry 12% at the beginning. Which is why pushing corruption is so important. You go from like a 10% chance to like a 40% chance, which is huge, by the way. But yeah, this one is the more relatively easy ones for the lady harbingers. If you have like all of the other attacks nailed down, you're good to go. So this is harbinger number, I think, 7. Yeah. So this is harbinger of Defilement. He's in the black sun. So the idea is like the one after Rye. He is a fat harbinger, okay? He has a decent amount of AoE overlaps and certain things that you have to be very careful about. So first things off, he will do this animation where he like grabs his helmet or whatever, right? And he's going to do the void donut. So here he does like the void donut. So here they'll like alternate back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, right? Bam, bam. So to dodge this, go left, right, left, right, left, right, and you'll do fine. Now remember, they do actually take a decent amount of time to actually finish. Like they take longer than Raye's do, but he just does like smack, smack. This Void Slam is a bitch. It doesn't even do that much damage, but avoiding it is like preferable, but it actually doesn't do that much damage. In comparison to Raye's anyways. And then of course it'll do like a bunch of void projectiles, by the way, void meteors that are random throughout the fight. So red wave, of course. Void. Oh my god. These things. Oh, fuck. So I don't know if you saw, he did like a red wave and then he did a void puddle. These void puddles are so fucking stupid. They have caused so many deaths. They are disgusting. So if you don't know, they do void damage over time. They tick very fast. They do damage before they show up, and they do copious amounts of damage over time. And the worst thing of all, they overlap. And the thing that's even worse than that, they are random. They can be over here, over here, over here, over yonder. All 3 of them can be on top of you. All 3 of them can be inside the hitbox of the Harbinger, so you don't even know that they're there until you die to them. So in general, the void puddles are like, get away. Get the fuck away and reposition them. Void puddles suck donkey dick. They're terrible. And then red slam, this does a lot of damage. It does a lot. The red slam, tanking the red slam is an achievement. Like, it does a lot of damage, the red slam there. And he usually does it after the void puddles. And of course, teleport slam. Slam again. And he's going to do his Harbinger special ability. Oh no, he isn't. Void puddles again. Red slam again. And then he has like this bitch basic melee attack. It does like an okay amount of damage. It's like fine. It's like when his cooldowns are off. That thing right there, it just does so much damage. And of course, he does the same thing. Donut, left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right, and you can DPS him down while you're doing this. Red slam, void puddle, teleport slam, big 5 dude slam, big Rye slam, puddle, red slam, triple slash slam. As you can see, he's just significantly less difficult than the other Harbingers, but the void puddles can kill you. That is the most difficult part about this boss, is the unpredictability of the void puddles. I'm sure you can tell as throughout the footage. Look at that. Look how random they were. They're just random. They're random the whole fight. You just don't know if they're going to hit you. And I don't like that, to be honest with you. Red slam, of course. Bam. And other than that, he's pretty easy. He's just a chonker. As you can see there, I dashed into 2 of them. I didn't even know that they were going to be there. Like, let me show you an idea of what I'm talking about here when it comes to the void puddles. So we're going to turn down the speed. These void puddles are dangerous. They are one of the most dangerous abilities in the entire game. Void slam. Bam. I walked into it. That's 3 of them. If you're wondering, that's 3. You can see that. 1, 2, 3, all in the same portion, and they all overlap and do multiple amounts of damage. Just to give you an idea again, we're just going to watch. Look at my HP bar going down. Oh my goodness gracious. They do so much fucking damage. They are the easiest, way to die in last Epoch, in my opinion, other than Aberoth or whatever, right? And poison or whatever. But the void puddles, they also explode and overlap and do damage. By the way, they can stun you. That's another good point, is if you're standing near them, their AoE is pretty big. They can slam and stun you. And being stunned sucks, right? Being stunned sucks. Now, left, right, good to go. So this is Age of Winter. This is the 8th Harbinger. So there's something very specific that you need to know about this fight. So fighting the Harbingers while there's a wall above you or behind you or whatever is not a very good idea. And this is very important. So the Harbingers, they usually spawn near where the boss dies. Okay. This is very important to know. So Herot likes to move around a lot. He will move in the direction of your character. I'm waiting for it. This dash here, when he does the twirl, he will move in the direction of your character. To give you an idea here, this is not where you want to fight the Harbinger. This is not where you want to fight the Harbinger at all. You want to be in the open area. So whenever you think that Herot is going to do his dash, be in the direction that you want him to move. So here, we're going to do some damage to Herot here real quick. Yada, yada, yada. Yada, yada. And then he's going to dash again. Now I want him to go this way. So he follows me, right? Bam. Now he's in an area that I want him to be at, right? So when the Harbinger of Tyranny shows up here, right? He's not next to a wall. Fighting the Harbinger of Tyranny next to a wall is titty bollocks. It sucks. Don't do this. Try to, of course, try to avoid fighting him against the wall. It's very important. So Harbinger of Tyranny has all the same abilities as all the other fat Harbingers, except for his special ability is he does a storm around you, and it does a lot amount of damage. Lots of damage. This storm, stay inside. This is a forced melee encounter. You want to be in melee range with the Harbinger at almost all times because of this void storm. Now, something to note, he reaches up near his helmet, takes it off, and then does a cold beam at you, right? So he does that cold beam. It does a lot of damage. So he will follow you while you're doing it for a good portion. So to give you an idea here, he's going to do it again. I'm going to allow him to do it. Now, you want to run circles around him. Run circles. See this? How he's moving around. I was here when he started it, and I was here when he ended it. He will rotate with you. So try to rotate as you're doing it. Okay. And then this is a very good time to DPS him down while he's doing it. Now, unfortunately, because of the way he works, void puddles are the most disgusting part of this fight because it is a forced melee encounter and you have to stay out of his AoE, right? So that's what the hardest point of this fight is, the force melee encounter for the void puddles, right? Everything else is pretty easy. So dodge the beam, good. DPS him down. Void puddles. Look how close they were that time to me. So whenever the storm is up, it's like a force melee encounter here. Here you go. Right? See what I mean? There you go. Beam, same thing. Like, thankfully, he's not that hard other than the void puddles. Like, look how fucking random that was. Look how fucking random that was. They're completely inconsequential there. But then the ones before that were absurd, right? You see what I mean about this? It's so stupid. It's stupid. I hate it. I hate how random they are. But yeah, other than that, it's a pretty easy boss, other than it being stupid, okay? It really is just an RNG roll. This is what I was talking about earlier about, like, generally you want to kill the bosses faster because odds are eventually you'll roll the dice wrong and it'll put a bunch of void puddles on top of your face and kill you. So, like, you want to get the fight done as quickly as possible. You do not want to dilly-dally, otherwise you can put void puddles on your face like that and then kill you without you even knowing. In the higher corruptions, this matters more and more and more because, you know, that void damage is going to do more and more damage. That was the Harbinger of Harbinger of Tyranny, right? Yeah, Harbinger of Tyranny. So this is Harbinger number 9, Fall of the Outcasts, Harbinger of Defilement. I don't know why he has the same name as, like, the Rye one, but whatever. Like, we'll go with it. Cool. Harbinger of Defilement here. So first things off, he will put a necrotic, he'll do this fire melee damage. So this is very important to know. If you're sitting, it's the same way as the red slam functions. If you're sitting here, he'll only hit you with the bunk. Like, he can hit you with the bunk and the fire thing at the same time. So, like, bunk, fire AoE, fire projectile. He can hit you with all three of them if you're sitting in the wrong spot. Okay? Bunk, right? See how those projectiles did damage to me? You got to be very, very, very careful with that. Then, of course, he puts a necrotic dot tracking pool on you. It doesn't do that much damage, but it's a removal. Like, it reduces the amount of it reduces the amount of sustain that you have. So it's important to kind of, like, bait it out and move him, right? When you're a range build, it's way easier to deal with. Bonk. And that's it. That's all it is. That's literally all it is. And he has void puddles too, you know. But, like, that's all the fight entails. Just move him around a bunch. Like, it's very easy to deal with him when you move him around a bunch. But, like, seriously, this is, like, the easiest one. If you have enough tankiness to tank his red slam there, you're good to go. Like, he's not that hard. Like, obviously, he has all the other abilities that can one-tap you and all that. But he's really not that difficult. Comparatively to the other Harbingers, this is why we're doing him last. Second to last, is he's just stupid simple. Pretty much, for the most part. The void puddles can still kill you, obviously. But he doesn't seem to do them as much in this fight, mainly because he has other cooldowns to be using, right? It seems like the red slam, not that one, the other red slam has a low cooldown. So, like, he doesn't do the void puddles as much, which makes him relatively easier than the others. Like, he does, you know, it's relatively easier because of no void puddles, right? That's Harbinger Defilement number 9 down very easily. Like, it's really not that hard in comparison to the first few, man. All right, this is the last one. This is in Reign of Dragons. This is the easiest Harbinger. It's the 10th one. The only thing he does is spawn suicidal zombies that do little damage and that necrotic beam. It's much like the beam, like the Age of Winter one, but he does it in the area, but it does not lock you down. The Age of Winter beam, like, freezes you, while this one does not do anything to you other than do big damage. And that's it. That's it. If you know how to fight the Fat Harbingers at this point, that's it. Literally, that's it. That's all it is. Just simply rotate him around. As you can see, void puddles on top of himself. That's the hardest part. Also, remember the pools from the dragon from before. They'll do max HP damage. So you want to sit in this general area. You don't want to sit here. So maneuvering him out of over here or whatever, you want him in the middle. That's about it. That's really it. And then, of course, he's very slow at that. Like, that's it. That's really it. This is, like, the easiest Harbinger out of all of them because he's just a slow, fat fuck. The only problem is the void dots, like the void dot puddles that are randomly strewn across the arena. That's it. I can't really say anything else. Like if you know how to fight the normal heart, the fat one, this one's easy. It really is just that easy, and that's why we leave him for number 10. To be honest, the dragon before this is more difficult because it just does more damage, right? Of course, void puddles are always difficult, but fuck void puddles, dude. Fuck void puddles. That beam does do a lot of damage, mind you. So if you get hit by the void beam, it will kill you. It will kill you. Right? It will kill you. It will fucking kill you. So be careful with the void thing. He will do it in a cone. So you generally want to stand next to him. Unless he's doing void dot puddles, then you don't want to stand next to him. But yeah, overall, pretty easy fight. There you go. See, I tanked one of the red slams there with this build. Look how much damage I do take. I took 2,000 from one hit, and this was a tanky build, mind you. I was at 60% armor or whatever at this time. So he hit me really hard there. But yeah, that's pretty much it for the Harbingers. That's pretty much it for Harbinger of Destruction number 10. All right, and that's going to be it for today's video. Hopefully you learned something. Lots of good tips in this video. With all that being said, this has been Dread. This has been the 10 out of 10 Harbinger guide. Bye.